repeat my willingness to converse with her and understand her point of view. The conversation was pleasant enough. One thing we discussed was my concern about her bringing her position to the board appropriately. And by appropriately, I mean prior to implementation of a revised policy and independent of any actual license application by a business, so that consideration could be given to changing the policy to allow consideration of the number of liquor licenses remaining for the future, which is not currently part of the explicit considerations enumerated in the policy. Allison assured me that she had brought those consideration of these changes in the policy to the village board. I asked her to send me some evidence, emails, items for future consideration, minutes that reflected that, whatever it might be. As I told her, I had looked, although I had only gone back 3 or 4 months in the minutes, and I had asked and inquired, but I had found nothing. In which case, and if there was something that I had missed or not seen because my inquiry was not long enough or thorough enough, I would readily and publicly stand corrected. But she has not provided me with anything like that so far. And by the way, I guess I maybe should also mention, this is an opinion, I guess, but my view of the way Trustee Rozek actually proceeded in connection with the last liquor license in Shorewood was an example of what I would later come to understand to be what some folks call cowboy government in its implementation. So back to my conversation with Allison.
Excuse me, this comment has already gone on for 15 minutes, and I know that we do want to stop our meetings at 10 or 10:30. I'm not sure what the time that we're looking to stop tonight is, and I know we have many things on the agenda, including a closed session. So I appreciate being able to continue on with our board meeting, although I do really appreciate you coming and contributing tonight.
Well, I'm almost done with my third point, and then my fourth point, which is one of the fun ones. I hope we can get to that. And then I'll be done. So I think I'm pretty close. So in the conversation, about 15 or 20 minutes later in the same conversation, we returned to the subject of liquor license policy. And very suddenly, I was on my heels. Allison stated to me that she never even knew that there was a liquor license policy, and that this was a failure of Guy Johnson and staff in communicating effectively with trustees. So at this, I was literally rendered speechless, if you can believe that, David. But my head was reeling. 20 minutes earlier, she had assured me that she had proposed to the board changes in the liquor license policy that she was then professing to have known nothing about. Fearing what might happen if I continued to engage on that subject in that venue, a fireside chat at Three Lions, I folded my tent, invited Allison to stay in touch with further dialogue, and went home to ponder. This was March 6th. Nothing from Allison to me so far to date. She had another direct opportunity to give me input when I attended a second fireside chat a week later on March 13th, but nothing on that at that time either. So that's my update on the last liquor license in Shorewood. So now we get to my last topic, which hopefully will be less controversial. And this was introduced to you all in a separate email that was sent a few hours ago. And I have found it to be generally, universally true, and perhaps you can confirm this if you wish, that nearly everyone has had as a mentor a high school English teacher who had a profound effect on his or her life. And I had more than one. My favorite such teacher combined a reverence for the classics with a love for words. And I've always found it useful to try to cover an important life concept with a memorable word so it will stick with you. These words that I sent in the email are umphalosketsis and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And these words relate specifically to my general message to the village board, which was delivered at this podium under Citizens to be Heard on March 5th. Please recall my earlier that day when I said, I am convinced that the most important issue for the upcoming election is to elect candidates that can work together, respect each other and staff, and treat all fairly, regardless of diverse views on particular agenda items before them. Before I discuss these two words that I sent you the email about, I wish to give credit to Trustee Rozek for bringing this out of my subconscious. During our conversation following her fireside chat on March 6th, while we were discussing interaction and communication among trustees and staff, this word, the first word, umphalaskepsis, and this lesson suddenly came to my mind from long ago when the Beatles were invading America from London, and I shared it with her, which she can confirm, I hope. So thank you for that, Allison, demonstrating once again the value to be had in friendly discussion. Umphalaskepsis, or navel gazing, is contemplation of one's navel as an aid to meditation. The word comes from the Greek umphalos, navel, and skepsis, which is the act of looking or examination. Now that may actually sound a little weird for village board members and staff. What I prefer is the tertiary definition and spin propounded by my high school English teacher. In everything you do and say, look first within yourself before proceeding. Of course, this is a variation on the golden rule, which comes from another culture. The second word is probably better known to you from the Disney musical Mary Poppins, which coincidentally was also released in 1964 when I was in high school and the Beatles invaded from England. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and it means extraordinarily good or wonderful.
Okay, this has now been 20 minutes that we've have listened to a single citizen, and we do have other business to move on to.
I have two more sentences.
Finish your 2 sentences.
So my email to you earlier today, more umphalaskepsis would make the village board supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, translates to more navel gazing on the village board would be wonderful. Actually, more introspection on the village board would be wonderful. I hope you get my idea. I also hope to hear more humming in these halls from Mary Poppins in the future. And if you go to Greece, know that you can visit Delphi, the center of the universe as far as the Greeks were concerned, and you can go and see the Olympus stone in Delphi. So I recommend that to you as well. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Dow, for coming today and for giving us your speech. And it was very nice talking with you after the fireside chat, both before and after, for both of them. So I'm glad that we had those discussions. I believe that they were complete. So I apologize if there was more information that I was supposed to be giving you, but I did enjoy our conversations. I also want to mention just one correction, that in our conversation, I did not say that I was not aware of the liquor license policy. I had said it wasn't in our packet, but it was distributed, and I think I mentioned that to you, and so I did read it prior to being able to speak to the applicant. But thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to be heard on non-agenda items? Seeing none, move on to item 6, Public Works. Trustee Bolduc, consider Milwaukee County Parks request for Estabrook Park enhancements.
Thank you. We have before us information on the extension, and I'm going to ask Trustee Maher to address this item as our representative on the Parks Committee at the county.
Comes out of the earlier project that we did the major Basin 6 sewer work that relieved a lot of the basement backup on the northwest corner of the village. And as part of that project, we needed to put in a sewer line that ran through Estabrook Park. And the county agreed to provide us an easement. We had to clear a path through there. And as part of the easement, the village agreed to provide $50,000 in-kind services or improvements to Estabrook Park. The funds were not cash because we wanted the improvements to stay in the park. So that was, and it's been a while since we've been working on Wilson, and the parks have a lot, so the parks has finally bid out the work they want to accomplish, which was included in our packet. There is an Oak Leaf Trail connection that goes between Kensington Boulevard to Estabrook Park. It's the estimated cost, the bid cost is $36,350. The Parks Commission and the parks work closely with the Friends of Estabrook Park.
Oh, is this Mr. Santiago?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So you work closely with them on the alignment of the trail. Originally, it was just going right from Kensington straight to the road and connect over the Oak Leaf Trail. Through discussions, it was decided to branch the trail so it also connected with the parking lot, so folks could go connect to the parking lot and also to the trail, so that's one part of the improvement. Another thing needed in the park is the backstop fence at Estabrook Diamond up near the beer garden. It's the net, the wiring on that's pretty shot, and there's some other improvements in the diamond. The cost of those improvements are $8,470. It's also where the easement went through, they had to clear out a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees. The park agreed, and the park commission also recommends that the installation of 2 new varieties of oaks in that area to revegetate that strip coming into the park. And the bid for that $6,419. So the overall bid is $51,239. It's $1,239 over bid. The parks, Milwaukee County Parks will cover that overage, but the village will provide $50,000 to Milwaukee County to cover the cost of these improvements in Estabrook Park. We have the Parks rep. Do you want to introduce? Do you have anything you want to add?
Good evening. So the improvements here.
You can speak in there.
Hi, so my name is Eddie Santiago. I'm Deputy Regional Manager of Operations and currently the Interim Chief of Operations for Milwaukee County Parks. And these improvements were on basically the back burner for quite some time now, and was one of my first tasks to try to come up with the list of improvements for this that would both benefit the park system, Estabrook Park, and the citizens of Shorewood. So the first project was that connection, the Oak Leaf Trail connection, that would basically connect Wilson Drive near the Kensington Street Avenue on the south side of the street to the playground, as well as the dog park, as well as the beer garden. So it'll be a straight shot basically to those amenities, which will both benefits the citizens and Milwaukee County Parks. So we thought that was a great thing. Like Michael had said, another path was identified to the parking lot. We got some more estimates and we got that done. Really looking forward to that improvement, and we met with Graf and some of the other folks that are working on the Wilson Drive upgrade to make sure that our plan basically lined up with what the Village of Shorewood was doing on that side of the street, which is another reason we moved it closer to Kensington, and we've also moved it to the south side of the street so to match the rest of the improvements on Wilson Drive. So I think we pretty much covered basically all our bases to make sure that it lines up with all the improvements. We like to get started right away on these improvements. The trees we would like to plant in the fall. I'd like to get the backstop done right away, and as well as these the connection done right away. So, do you guys have any questions for me? Yes.
Just wanted, you made a mention, trustee Meyer, of that we will pay the county parks,
Right.
my understanding was that those funds were already with the county park system as part of that.
They're in our utility fund, they're
Oh.
held in the utility fund.
Okay.
Or they were borrowed for when we did the project. We've just been waiting to
So the transfer is never taken place?
No.
Okay, great, thank
Thank you.
And won't take place until it gets approved tonight, and then you can sign the contract with the vendors.
Yes.
So the crosswalk across Estabrook, is there going to be a crosswalk across
Yes.
Estabrook Parkway?
Yes,
And will it be like like a kind of ladder crosswalk, like the one that's farther south towards Capitol is, or will it be bumpy? What kind of crosswalk will it be?
it would be the same as the one currently in front of the dog park area and the one closer to Capitol. So basically it's the 2.5 feet wide lines that go across with yield to pedestrian signs right in the middle.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for? Ready?
I would make a motion, I would move to direct staff to present the proposed, no, that's not it. That's the wrong one. I got the wrong instance there. I would make a motion move to approve the Milwaukee County projects for Estabrook Park as proposed for a cost of not to exceed $50,000.